The desert wind blew dust across the broken land. The sun was weak and pale, hidden behind heavy clouds. In the middle of this lifeless world, a man was walking slowly. His steps were unsteady, and his body was weak. His shirt was torn, his hands were bleeding, and his face was covered with dirt and sweat. He looked like he had been through war. His left arm was pressed tightly against his chest where blood had dried into his clothes. Every step he took was painful, but still he kept moving. Far ahead of him stood something impossible. It was a city, but not like any human city. The towers were tall and curved, shaped like bones and crystal mixed together. Strange symbols glowed faintly on the walls. The streets were silent. No smoke, no fire, no people. It was like the city had been empty for hundreds of years. The man stopped and stared at it. His heart was beating fast. He felt like he had seen this place before, but he could not remember when. He whispered to himself, "What is this place?" The wind answered with silence. He kept walking, dragging his weak body toward the ruins. As he crossed the first broken gate, something strange happened. The ground beneath him trembled softly. The ruined street lit up with pale blue light, as if the stones themselves were alive. The man froze in shock. The city had responded to his arrival. He looked around carefully. Broken statues of alien figures stood on each side of the street. Their faces were long and sharp, with large eyes carved in stone. Some of the statues were broken, their heads lying on the ground. But when he passed near them, faint glowing lines appeared on their bodies, like veins of light. It was as if they were waking up just because he was here. The man felt fear rise in his chest. His mind screamed at him to turn back, to run away. But his legs did not listen. Something deeper, stronger, was pulling him forward. He could not explain it, but it felt like the city was calling him. He moved deeper into the ruins. The air grew colder, and the silence became heavier. Every sound he made echoed through the empty streets. He could hear his own breath, ragged and broken. He could hear the beating of his heart, loud in his ears. He reached a large square. In the middle of it stood a massive stone circle. It was covered in alien symbols, glowing faintly. The circle looked like a gate, but it was broken, split down. The center. Around it were tall towers, their tops shattered as if by war. The man walked closer, his eyes locked on the glowing symbols. He reached out with his hand. His fingers, shaking and weak, touched the cold stone. At that moment, the entire circle blazed with bright light. The ground shook beneath him. A deep hum filled the air, and the broken towers lit up one by one. The man stumbled back, his heart racing. The city was alive, and it was reacting to him. He looked around in fear and wonder. Why was this happening? He was just a man, broken and alone. Why would an alien city answer his presence? He tried to leave the square, but the path behind him had already changed. The glowing stones extended further into the ruins, guiding him forward like a road of light. His body was weak, his injuries screamed with pain, but his mind was filled with something else now. Curiosity. The man followed the glowing path. He passed through narrow streets where alien carvings showed images of war. He saw armies of strange creatures holding weapons of light. He saw massive ships flying through the sky. He saw fire raining down from the heavens. And then he saw something that made him stop. In one carving, a human figure stood beside the aliens. The figure was small compared to them, but it carried a staff of light. The aliens bowed to him. The man's heart skipped a beat. It was impossible. How could humans be part of this ancient story? He touched the carving, and once again the symbols lit up under his hand. The light spread across the wall, and for a second he heard a whisper, a voice distant and broken, speaking in a language he did not know. But inside his mind he understood a single word. Return. The man stepped back, breathing heavily. His legs trembled, his wounds burned. He felt like he was losing control of his body. But the path of light in front of him kept glowing, pulling him further in. He passed through another broken arch. Here the ruins looked different. The walls were higher, the carvings older. Strange machines lay in pieces on the ground, their shapes unfamiliar to him. Some looked like weapons, others like tools. But they were all dead, silent, covered in dust. Yet as he walked near them, a few lights blinked faintly, as if trying to wake up. He finally reached a wide set of stairs leading down into darkness. At the bottom he could see faint blue light glowing. His body was almost ready to collapse, but he felt that this was where he had to go. He placed his hand against the wall for support and began to descend. Each step echoed through the ruins. Each step felt like a step into the past. His wounds bled again, leaving drops of red on the ancient stone. And with each drop, the walls around him seemed to respond, glowing brighter. The man reached the bottom. Before him stood a massive hall, pillars stretched high, supporting a broken ceiling. In the center of the hall, covered in dust and shadow, stood something enormous, a spaceship. The man froze. His eyes widened. His breath caught in his chest. The ship was alien, smooth and curved, but it looked strangely familiar at the same time. It was silent, dead. But as he stepped closer, the ground shook again. Lights began to glow on the ship's surface. Car engines hummed softly as if the ship was waking up from a long sleep. The man whispered, his voice trembling, "Why me?" But there was no answer. Only the ship and its glowing light waiting for him. And in that moment, the man knew one thing, for certain. His arrival was no accident. The ruins had been waiting. The ship had been waiting. Waiting for him. The silence of the hall pressed heavily against the injured man's ears. He stood still, staring at the alien spaceship in front of him. The ship was massive, smooth, and alive with soft pulses of blue light. It was like a sleeping beast that had suddenly opened one eye. The man took a slow step forward. The floor responded with a faint vibration, as though it recognized him. He stopped again, breathing hard. His wounds burned, and his body begged him to rest, but his mind was trapped between fear and curiosity. He whispered under his breath, Why is this happening?" The hall echoed his voice back at him, but it was not a normal echo. When the sound returned, it carried an extra tone, a deeper note like another voice hidden inside his own. The man shivered. He looked up at the broken ceiling. Faint streams of light from the gray sky fell through the cracks, but most of the light came from the ship itself. Its glow spread across the walls, revealing old carvings that had been hidden in darkness. The man turned and studied them. The carvings showed the same alien figures he had seen before, but now they were clearer. Armies, battles, strange machines. In one scene, he saw towers burning. In another, he saw massive creatures with wings fighting against alien soldiers. Then his eyes caught something that made him stop breathing for a moment. It was a carving of a human. The figure stood tall, holding some kind of weapon. The aliens knelt before him as if he was a king or a leader. But the strangest part was the face. The carving was not detailed, yet the human figure's features looked familiar, very familiar. The man stepped closer, his heart pounding. The face in the stone looked almost like his own. He raised his trembling hand and touched the carving. Immediately the wall responded. The symbols across it lit up, racing with energy like veins of fire. The hall filled with a humming sound. The ground shook slightly, and then the whisper came again, this time louder, clearer. It was not in his language, but his mind understood it anyway. "Welcome back." The man staggered back in shock. His legs nearly gave out. His body was weak, but fear pushed him to stay on his feet. He looked around, wildly searching for the source of the voice. But the hall was empty. Only the ship stood in front of him, glowing brighter now. He shouted, his voice breaking, "Who are you? What do you want from me?" The answer came, but not from outside. It came from inside his head. "We waited. We waited for you." His chest tightened. His breath grew short. He pressed his hands against his ears, but the voice did not stop. It was not sound, it was thought. The man stumbled back until his shoulders hit a pillar. His eyes darted across the hall. The carvings glowed. The ship pulsed. The city above them rumbled faintly, as if waking from its long sleep. His voice trembled. I'm just a man. I don't know you. I don't know this place. But deep inside, something told him that was not true. Somewhere in his memory, something was hidden, something he could not yet see. The whisper inside his mind grew softer, almost gentle. You will remember. Soon. The man slid down against the pillar sitting on the cold stone floor. His body ached, his wounds still bleeding. He felt like he was losing strength, but he could not take his eyes off the ship. Minutes passed in silence. His breathing slowed. His head dropped forward. His eyes closed for just a moment, and in that moment visions came. He saw flashes of war, human soldiers fighting alongside tall alien warriors. He saw burning skies, destroyed worlds, and a giant fleet of ships. He saw himself, or someone who looked like him, standing in the middle of it all, holding a weapon of light, commanding both humans and aliens. He gasped and opened his eyes, heart racing. His hands shook violently. No, this can't be real. It's not me. It's not me. But deep inside he knew the visions were not lies. They were memories. Not his memories, perhaps, but connected to him in some way. He forced himself to stand again, leaning on the pillar. His eyes turned back to the ship. It was glowing more brightly now, as though his visions had fed its energy. Slowly, with painful steps, he walked closer. The hum grew louder with every step. The air felt heavy, charged with power. He reached the edge of the platform where the ship rested. A low sound echoed through the hall, the deep ancient horn. The man froze. He turned his head toward the far side of the chamber. In the shadows, another wall lit up. This wall was different. It showed not carvings, but moving images, like a hologram burned into the stone. He saw the alien city as it once was, full of life and light. He saw alien children running through streets, alien warriors marching with honor. And then, destruction. Fire, explosions, death, a dark enemy falling upon them, ships raining fire from the skies, the city crumbling under attack. The man felt his chest tighten. He could almost hear their screams. The hologram shifted again. Now it showed the spaceship in front of him. He watched as alien leaders gathered around it, their faces filled with sorrow. They sealed the ship, placed it in the chamber, and left it to sleep. And then, he saw one alien place a human child inside a pod at the ship's core. The vision ended. The man stood frozen, unable to breathe. His eyes were wide with shock. A child? A human child had been here centuries ago, and the city had been waiting for another. Suddenly the whisper returned, stronger than before. You are the key. You are the blood. The past is not gone. The war is not over. The man stumbled backward, shaking his head. No, I'm nobody. I don't understand. But the ship responded with a roar of power. Its lights flared, and the hall trembled. Dust fell from the ceiling. Ancient machines around the chamber blinked to life for the first time in centuries. The man fell to his knees, covering his head. Fear filled him, but so did something else. Destiny. The city was not dead. It was only sleeping, and now, because of him, it was waking again. The hall shook with the roar of awakening machines. Dust fell from the broken ceiling, and cracks spread along the ancient pillars. The injured man knelt on the cold floor, his body trembling. His breath was sharp and heavy. The ship in front of him pulsed with blue light, brighter and brighter, as if it were drawing life from his very presence. He forced himself to stand. His legs shook, his arms still pressed against the wound in his chest, but he stood anyway. Something deep inside whispered that turning away now was no longer possible. The city had already chosen him. The ground beneath him shifted. A section of the floor began to slide open with a grinding sound. Dust rose into the air as a hidden passage revealed itself. The man staggered back, eyes wide. He stared at the dark stairs leading further down. A cold wind rose from the opening, carrying with it a faint sound, like voices whispering in the dark. The ship's hum grew louder, pushing him forward. He did not want to descend, but his body moved anyway. His mind screamed for caution, yet his feet obeyed the pull of the hidden passage. He stepped onto the stairs, each step echoing like thunder in the silence. The deeper he went, the stranger the air became. It was thick, heavy, charged with some kind of unseen energy. His skin tingled, his wounds burned, yet strangely, they also felt like they were healing. He touched his chest and found the bleeding had slowed. At the bottom, the stairs opened into another chamber. It was darker, wider, filled with machines unlike anything he had seen before. They were massive structures, shaped like cages, and inside them lay silent, broken figures. The man froze. The figures were not statues. They were alien soldiers. Their bodies were tall, their faces sharp like the carvings above, but these were not stone. They were real, long dead. Their skin turned pale and thin like paper. Their armor was cracked, their weapons broken. Rows of them stretched across the chamber like a forgotten army entombed in silence. The man's breath caught in his throat. His heart pounded. He stepped closer, and as he did, faint blue light sparked across the alien armor. For a second, he thought one of them had moved. He stumbled back, fear crawling up his spine. But the figure remained still, lifeless. Then the whisper returned inside his head. They fought. They died. They wait. The man clenched his fists. Wait for what? He demanded, his voice echoing through the chamber. The whisper answered. For you. His chest tightened. His throat was dry. He shook his head, whispering to himself. No. I'm no leader. I'm no warrior. But the chamber disagreed. The cages around him hummed. Lights flickered to life, running along the walls, like veins of fire. The machines awoke, releasing streams of glowing energy into the air. The alien soldiers remained dead, but their armor lit up as if their spirits had returned. The man turned in a circle, surrounded by rows of glowing corpses. He felt trapped, like he was standing inside a graveyard that had suddenly opened its eyes. Then he saw something in the center of the chamber, a raised platform with a single pedestal. On it lay an object covered in dust. He walked closer, his step slow and unsteady. As he neared the pedestal, the dust lifted into the air, revealing the object beneath. It was a weapon, not a gun, not a blade, but something stranger. A staff made of metal and crystal, its surface etched with alien symbols. The man reached out. His hand shook. His mind told him to stop, but his body did not listen. His fingers wrapped around the staff. Instantly, the chamber exploded with light. The soldier's eyes glowed. The walls shone with ancient writing. The ship above roared with power. And inside his head the voice shouted, not a whisper this time, but a command. Commander! The man dropped to his knees, gripping the staff with both hands. A surge of energy poured into him, burning his veins, filling his chest with fire. His vision blurred. He saw flashes of battles again, humans and aliens fighting side by side, their enemies dark and endless. He saw the same staff in another man's hands, a leader standing tall against impossible odds. He saw himself in that man. He gasped and collapsed, the staff still clutched in his hand. His body shook violently. His mind spun with images that did not belong to him. His voice broke as he shouted into the darkness, I'm not him. I'm not the one you want. The chamber answered with silence. Then the voice returned, calm, steady, unyielding. You carry his blood. You carry his memory. The war sleeps, but it will wake. You will lead again. Tears blurred the man's vision. His body was weak, his heart heavy. He wanted to refuse, to throw the staff away. But he could not. The weapon's light burned against his skin. It was part of him now. He looked up at the rows of glowing alien soldiers, Their eyes burned like blue fire. Though they were dead, he felt their gaze. He felt their loyalty. He felt their expectation. The man whispered, broken and afraid. "What, if I fail?" The whisper answered softly. "Then humanity falls." The chamber fell silent again. The lights dimmed, leaving only the staff glowing in his hands. He pushed himself to his feet, unsteady but standing. Above him, the ship roared louder than ever before. Its engines shook the earth. The ruins above cracked and crumbled. The city was waking, and the injured man, with the staff in his hand, realized the truth. He had not walked into these ruins by chance. The ruins had called him. The ship had chosen him, and now the dead were waiting for him to lead. The ground above the chamber trembled as the ship roared louder. Dust rained from the ceiling, and cracks spread like veins across the ancient walls. The injured man clutched the glowing staff tightly, its blue light burning against his skin. His breath was uneven, his chest heavy, but he could not let go. The weapon felt alive, and it had chosen him. The silence of the dead army around him made the air colder. Rows of alien soldiers remained still, but their glowing armor and burning eyes reminded him that even in death, they were watching, judging, waiting. He raised the staff slowly, and as he did, the energy in the chamber answered. The walls lit up with alien symbols. The ship above shook as if it were straining against time itself. The man's vision blurred again, and once more, the voice entered his mind. "Awaken." The staff pulsed with power. The man gasped as a stream of light shot from it, striking the ceiling. The energy tore through the stone, opening a path upward. The ship above responded instantly, its hull glowing brighter than the sun. The man stumbled, almost falling. The staff felt heavy, too heavy for his weak body. His wounds screamed with pain, his muscles trembled, but the weapon did not allow him to rest. It pulled him forward, dragging him up the stairs and back into the great hall where the ship rested. The hall was no longer dark. Blue light poured from the ship, filling every corner. The floor shook violently as ancient machines buried in the ruins began to rise. Giant pillars unfolded into towers of energy. Strange alien drones floated from hidden alcoves, their bodies spinning with glowing rings. The man shielded his eyes. "Stop, I can't control this." But the voice replied with calm certainty. "You are not meant to control. You are meant to command." He stumbled closer to the ship. Its surface shimmered, and then a door opened with a hiss. A ramp of light extended to the floor. The man froze at the bottom, his body shaking. His mind screamed at him to run, but the staff in his hands pushed him forward. He stepped onto the ramp. The moment his foot touched the glowing surface, a wave of warmth spread through his body. His wounds closed. The bleeding stopped. His skin healed before his eyes. His strength returned, stronger than before. The man gasped, staring at his arms in disbelief. The pain that had crippled him was gone. The staff hummed in his grip, its light calmer now. Inside the ship, the walls were alive with flowing symbols. Streams of light moved like rivers across the metal, creating shapes and patterns he could almost understand. The air was warm, filled, with a faint humming sound like the heartbeat of a living creature. As he stepped inside, the ramp closed behind him. He was trapped. The hall he entered was circular, with a raised platform in the center. In the middle of the platform stood a glowing crystal sphere, spinning slowly, the ship's heart. The man approached carefully. His reflection appeared on the sphere, but it was not his face alone. For a split second, he saw another face layered over his own. A warrior with sharp eyes, dressed in alien armor, holding the same staff. He staggered back, heart racing. The voice filled his mind again, but this time it was different. Not just one voice, but many, thousands layered together, deep and powerful. "You return. Humanity returns," the man shouted, his voice breaking. "I don't know who you want me to be. I don't know your war. I just want to go home." The crystal sphere pulsed, sending a wave of energy through the ship. Images filled his mind again, but sharper, stronger. He saw the alien city in its glory. He saw humans fighting side by side with the alien race, wielding weapons of light. He saw an enemy, a shadowy force, endless and merciless, burning entire worlds. He saw the same warrior again, the man who looked like him, the leader the aliens called Commander. And then he saw the end, the city falling, the warrior falling, the aliens placing a human child, inside the ship, and a voice saying, "One day your blood will return. One day the war will continue." The visions ended. The man collapsed to his knees, gasping for breath. Tears filled his eyes. His hands shook around the staff. He whispered, broken, "I'm not him, I can't be him." The sphere answered with a final word, "You are." The ship roared to life. Its walls shone with blinding light. The engines powered on with a deep, thunderous hum. The floor vibrated, and the ruins above cracked and collapsed, sending stone crashing down. But the ship did not fall. It rose. "The bon." Man gripped the staff tightly as the platform lifted him upward. The walls around him shifted, transforming into a cockpit. Transparent panels opened to reveal the sky above. For the first time in centuries, the alien ship left the ground. It floated above the ruins, glowing like a second sun. The man stood inside, his reflection staring back at him in the glass. His body was healed. His strength returned. But his heart was heavy. He had not chosen this. Yet the ship, the city, the dead army, they had chosen him. As the ship ascended higher, the clouds above parted, and in the sky, hidden until now, dozens of massive alien warships hung silently in orbit. Their hulls were dark, but as the man's ship rose, their lights flickered on. One by one they awoke. The man's chest tightened. His grip on the staff was iron. His voice trembled as he whispered, "What have I started?" The ship answered with silence, but the silence was louder than any roar. The fleet had waited for centuries, and now they had their commander. The alien ship floated high above the ruins, glowing like a beacon against the dark clouds. The man stood inside its cockpit, the staff of light still burning in his hands. His body was healed, his wounds gone, but his mind was not at peace. His reflection stared back at him in the glass walls, and behind that reflection he still saw the ghost of the other man, the commander who had lived long before him. Outside, the sky shifted. One by one, the massive alien warships that had slept in orbit for centuries began to wake. Their engines rumbled, their lights flickered, their weapons came alive. The empty sky became filled with giants. A dead fleet was breathing again. The man's chest tightened, his voice was low, almost a whisper. "I didn't ask for this. I don't even know who I am to you." The staff pulsed with light, answering him without words. The ship's systems around him hummed, and the ancient voice returned to his mind. "You are blood of the commander. You are his line. The war waits for you." The man shook his head. His hands trembled. "I'm not him. I don't know how to lead fleets. I don't know your war." The voice was calm, steady, unshaken. "You don't need to know. The ship will guide you. The fleet will obey. Only you can wake them. Only you can end what began." The man's breath grew short. His heart pounded in his chest. He looked down at the staff. Its glow was softer now, almost gentle, but he could feel the weight of destiny pressing down on him. He turned to the cockpit's glass again. Outside, the alien warships were not alone. Beyond them, in the distance of space, shadows were moving. Enormous dark shapes like monsters with wings of fire. A new enemy, or perhaps the same ancient enemy from his visions, was already stirring. The man's blood ran cold. He whispered, "They're still out there." The voice in his mind replied, "They never left. They wait, just as we waited." The ship trembled and new visions poured into his mind. He saw Earth, green fields, oceans, cities full of human life. He saw it burning under the shadow of the enemy. He saw people screaming, running, fighting. He saw himself standing in the middle of it all, holding the staff, the last wall between humanity and extinction. He fell to his knees, gripping the staff with both hands. Tears filled his eyes. His voice cracked. "I don't want this, I just want to go home." But deep inside, he knew there was no home to return to. Not anymore. Not after what he had seen. The cockpit filled with silence. Only the hum of the ship surrounded him. Then slowly the panels in front of him shifted, revealing something new. A choice. Two paths lit up on the screen before him. One path showed Earth safe and untouched, glowing green and blue. The other path showed the fleet, weapons armed, ready for war. The man's body shook. His mind raced. If he chose Earth, maybe he could return. Maybe he could try to live an ordinary life. But deep inside, he knew it would not last. The shadows were already moving. The war would come to Earth whether he wanted it or not. If he chose the fleet, he would become the commander the aliens believed him to be. He would lead an army of ghosts and machines into a war older than his own bloodline. And once he stepped onto that path, there would be no turning back. He lifted the staff. Its glow split into two, pointing at both choices. The staff was waiting for his command. His voice trembled. "Why me?" The ship answered softly, the voice no longer ancient, but almost human. "Because only you can. Because humanity always rises when all else falls." The man closed his eyes. He felt the weight of millions of lives pressing against his shoulders. He thought of the alien ruins, the dead soldiers watching him, the visions of burning skies. He thought of Earth, his home, and the people who had no idea what storm was coming. When he opened his eyes, they were no longer filled with fear. They burned with something else. Resolve. He lifted the staff high. The ship responded instantly. The path to Earth faded. Only the fleet remained. The ship roared with power, shaking the skies. The warships above fully awakened, their weapons locking into place, their engines glowing like suns. One by one, they turned toward the stars, waiting for his command. The man stood tall inside the cockpit, his reflection merging with the ghost of the commander. For the first time, they looked the same. He whispered, his voice steady. "Then we fight." The fleet answered with thunder. The engines of dozens of alien warships roared as they broke formation and spread across the heavens. The sky above the ruined city lit up with fire and light. The man gripped the staff tightly, his heart pounding, his eyes locked on the shadows moving in the distance. The choice was made. The injured man who had stumbled into the ruins was gone. In his place stood the commander of a fleet long dead, reborn in human blood. The enemy would come. And when they did, humanity would not bow. Humanity would rise.